Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Overtime. We're going to try to sort some information out here. Now, if you could stand by one, I'm here with a Xandering, so all right, and I do apologize if everyone could stand by one. I got a message I have to respond to. All right. What we there's a lot going on. About 2 hours ago, it looks like the original warrant was released, so we can see the warrant. We have that, and we're going to show you that. The other thing is we've got a list of what they recovered. Now, we've been very careful in the past to talk about what we know about what the warrant was for and what was recovered. We know the warrants were for documents that were some level of classified, including top secret. We know that they recovered material that fell under the warrant. It's easy to therefore say they recovered top secret information. We don't know that for sure. At least we didn't at the time. Let's see, I think... all right, and Commander McMillan is joining us, which is going to be very helpful. Commander, I'll get you on screen in a minute, but they can hear you. You're live. To sort of reiterate, so we now have the warrant, and we also have a list of what they recovered, and that list confirms not only that they did in fact recover numerous sets of documents from at all levels of classification, including top secret, but another set of documents which, to our understanding, but McMillan is going to know this far better than I think any of us, and I've also asked his Xandering to help us out with this because both of them have much more experience than I do in this. But one of the classifications was apparently even really considered in many cases above top secret. Let me see if I can find the classification, and we know that this was removed now because we've got the inventory. It's a TS SCI, and and it looks like we may have lost Commander McMillan. So we'll let's see here. And I do apologize for everyone. Sorry, we're trying to coordinate getting some experts in here for you to help explain the severity of what we're looking at. We've also learned that there was 3 elements of the criminal code that they used that they said that they believed Trump had violated. One of them is under the Espionage Act. So it appears as if they're taking this extraordinarily seriously. Again, we have the both the warrant and an inventory, just a sort of a general inventory of what they took. It's really quite amazing. Xandering, welcome. How are you?
Okay. Trying to keep up with all of the stuff that keeps popping up, and when you're driving down the road, that's a little difficult. So.
I'm aware, and we do have Commander McMillan back. Commander, how are you? All right, we're not getting audio coming in from you, so we'll.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
So
I didn't have my gray jacket on.
Oh yeah, well that'll do it. That's why this is insurance against being muted. It's never really worked, but you know. So so what we have is a tremendous amount of information coming in. One of the other things that's happened is Breitbart has released a whole bunch of information. They failed to redact the names of the FBI agents that were in the raid, and given the current atmosphere, I think that's extraordinarily reckless, and it feels deliberate. Yeah, it's
a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Based on the rhetoric that's been going around, I just can't imagine where you would have come up with that feeling of deliverance.
Yeah,
with deliverance.
It's yeah. So what we're gonna do here, and actually I just realized what I think I'm gonna do is I don't know how clear your screens are for you guys. You guys always get the low quality copy of the stream. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch the internal to the Warrant. So those of you who are joining us on the inside here will be able to read along with me. So I just want to make sure that I got the Warrant in the right place here. That's a guess, and that's probably going to be wrong. So I have no idea what it's going to send you now. So let me get it so that you guys can see the Warrant on the inside, and that is okay. There you go. That's an easy fix. So let me I'm going to send you guys this, and then we're going to go over the Warrant again. There's a lot coming out. Trump is now saying that he essentially suggested that all of this material is actually already publicly available. None of it is of any consequence. He is also, he hasn't yet, but a number of people are suggesting that de facto, by him releasing anything, it is no longer classified. This defense was used when Dick Cheney outed, I think it was a knock agent, if I recall, Valerie Plame. Yep, and he outed her. That's one of the CIA's most confidential secrets, and that fell under that fell under the same category. They said, well, he's the head of the executive branch. If he chooses to release information, then it's no longer classified. There's been some back and forth on that. However, the violation of the criminal code does not necessitate that the documents be classified. So it looks at this point as if Trump is dead to rights on violating the Espionage Act. I think that's our read on it. You guys should see a reasonably small copy of the Warrant now on the internal monitor. Let me get it up so you guys can see it. We're going to go over that Warrant, and we're going to go over what they obtained. I am honestly not qualified to understand all of the jargon on this. Again, it's a lot of people are sort of saying a lot of things about this document. So let's start with what we've got here. So this is a redacted version of the Warrant to search Mar-a-Lago. It has just been released. Search and seizure. This is saying that they have a limited window. They have 14 days in which to execute the warrant. They have apparently did not want to execute it while Trump was there. They didn't want to have interference either from Trump or from the Secret Service, who would be in a bit of a pickle if Trump physically attempted to stop the search and FBI officers physically restrained Trump. That puts Secret Service in an extraordinary bind. So it looks like they were waiting till he was gone. They were given a 14-day window. Let's see. They discuss the premise to be searched, all the buildings. They talk about what they're looking for. They're looking for items that are illegally possessed in violation of 18 U.S.C. 793, 2071, or 1519, including the following. Any physical documents with the classifications with classification markings. So that would be anything that's classified at any level, ostensibly. Information, including communications, retrieval, storage, or transmission of national defense information or classified material. Any government or presidential records. So now the records, again, he's not entitled to have those. We've discussed that before. That's small potatoes compared to everything else we're talking about here. Any evidence of the knowledge of knowingly alteration, destruction, or concealment of any government or presidential records or any documentation with classification markings. Now, one of the three codes that that they used for this is, in fact, for the destruction or covering up of classified material in order to facilitate getting away with a crime. So obviously they're looking at him now not just for releasing or having these documents, but at least some of these documents are doing so explicitly to cover up a crime. What was recovered? This is a receipt from the Department of Justice for the basics of what they found. They found, I think it was 22 boxes under 11 different classifications. This is the, is this 11? No, this is under the 22. So I think it was 11 separate, it was 11 caches of documents that were classified at some level. The first thing they have, executive grant of clemency for Roger Stone. I don't know how or why. He was pardoned, if I recall. I don't know why they were interested in that, but they did take that. Information regarding the president of France. We don't know what that means, but presumably it is something embarrassing or something that is... He was in possession of some form of information. Whether that information was classified or obtained by our intelligence, we don't know what. But they were interested in it. They took it. Leather-bound box of documents. Now this is the one. This is why I called Commander McMillan. Within those documents, various classified SCI documents. Now, my understanding of that is that, so top secret is the highest level of classification we have. That this falls under top secret, but it's a special kind of document that you are not permitted to even view except under certain extraordinarily secure circumstances. You can't discuss them. Yep. You cannot. Okay, so since could you describe that classification to us, please?
Sure. So, just briefly, there are 4 levels of security. For official use only, which anybody can see, but you're only supposed to view it or use it in connection with official duties. Then there's confidential, then secret, and then top secret. Within any of those categories, there is also something called SCI, which is the abbreviation for Special Compartmented Information. The vast majority of SCI material is TS, top secret. Special Compartmented Information, these are special programs, and you have to get read in on special handling procedures, what that information is going to be about, etc. And anytime you look at the stuff, you have to sign in so they know you've seen X, Y, and Z documents. You haven't seen A, B, and Q, that kind of stuff. And when you are no longer involved in a situation where you are required to view said documents, then you are written out of that program, which means you no longer have the ability or the right to view any such material. Before anybody comes up and says, oh, well, the president should be allowed to see everything. No. And there's plenty of precedent for that. One of the biggest ones was in the lead up to Pearl Harbor, all the magic intercepts of Japanese diplomatic communications that were going on that were alerting us to the fact that, yeah, they're already preparing to attack and such. The president had been taken out of access to that program because he had not been handling the documents that he had been allowed to see properly. So they took him off the access list. That's the level of control SCI programs entail.
So
Can I answer your question?
Yes, sir, it does. So if I understand correctly, with the SCI, he must necessarily be read in. Somebody has to tell him these are the standards for how we're going to operate these documents. I should get your camera up. It's not up yet. I'll get that up in a second. You have to be read in. You have to understand how to handle it. It's a need to know. So you are not read in unless there is a specific reason why you must be reading these documents. You're only permitted to read whichever ones actually pertain specifically to what you need. And I assume you're not allowed to take them with you out of the room, let alone to, say, a private residence.
There are facilities, very specific special facilities called SCIFs, SCIF, or Special Compartmented Information Facility. All SCI material is kept in a SCIF and doesn't ever leave the SCIF. No cell phones are allowed in the building. You can't bring visitors into the building, that kind of stuff. That's the way that works. So they might have they might have brought SCI material to the president to read, and then they would have removed those documents from his possession in the Oval Office and taken them and stored them in a SCIF. Now, I don't doubt that there is a SCIF on site in the White House, but it's not something, SCI information is not something the president or anybody should have been carrying around on their person or storing in their personal residence. And absolutely, definitely, 100% not have been in possession of it after he was read out of the program. In other words, the day he left office, all material of that nature would have had to have been turned back over to government control.
So, apparently, oh dear Lord, I may have lost the link on this. We've got the MSNBC contributor and historian Michael Beslakos posted a tweet recounting historical figures who have been executed for sharing U.S. nuclear secrets with foreign governments, and suggested that Trump should be facing that penalty. Former CIA chief Hayden has liked the tweet. I am genuinely, I can't believe I have to sit here and say, well, he liked the tweet, but that's the I mean, that's literally what I'm reporting right now, is that somebody liked the tweet. But given the gravity of this, and given that it's the former head of the CIA liking a tweet saying that the former president of the United States should be facing execution for this, I figure it's probably worth reporting. Is there, in terms of intelligence leaks and at least mishandling, not in terms of necessarily deliberately turning it as committing espionage, but in terms of mishandling, is there a set of circumstances that's more serious than this in your view?
I'm not sure I entirely understand the question, but let's put it this way. There is a difference between having taken classified documents and stored them inappropriately. There's a difference between that and having shown them to people who shouldn't see them. And then there is a difference between showing somebody a document and then either giving it to them or creating a facsimile and giving them copies of said documents. So all of those factor in, and then what did the individual get in return for allowing them to see or giving them copies of the documents? Was there a quid pro quo involved? If I let you look at this document, you're going to give me $1 million, or you're going to, make the dead body of my enemy disappear, or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. The issue is, if this is a case of inadvertently, oh, I shouldn't have taken this out of the White House when I left office, it was a mistake, it's been under lock and key, or I've had it stored in my security vault for this whole time, and there's no prima facie case to say that he had been showing it to other people, that's a level of bad boy, slap on the finger, don't do it again, as opposed to he took the documents with the intent all along of either showing them to or selling them to foreign agencies in return for some sort of remuneration. I'm not saying he did that. I'm not saying he did the former of, oops, it was a mistake. I'm just saying there's a spectrum of, if it goes to prosecution, how severe an appropriate penalty would be to be imposed for what happened.
Given how you've described the security under which these documents are normally kept, any speculation, and we're going to all keep in mind that this is speculation, how he could have gotten his hands on these and deposited them in a safe in Mar-a-Lago? You are muted. We've lost the
Oops.
audio. There
Can
you
you
go.
hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So, as I said, I'm sure that he was shown on a routine basis SCI documents. That's the level of clearance he would need for performance of his duties as Commander-in-Chief of U.S. military. How he didn't have them in proper security containers that stayed resident under government control when he left office, that's open to speculation, and I can't say. My guess, my gut instinct, is they were removed deliberately. And again, speculation, but knowing what we know of this man's personality, it was for the purposes of making a profit of some sort off of it. That's the way this guy has operated his entire life.
I'd like to bring a Zandring in a minute on this, but I'd like to also add that Trump has said in part in defense of this. Let me see if I can find his quote. They made no attempt to contact my lawyer. Let's see.
Yeah, they did.
Well, yes.
The lawyers admitted as much.
And we have the lawyer's signature on this document on the original warrant. So we know that the lawyers were informed that the warrant had been issued. And we know that, and so how or why either he was not told or if he was told and is backtracking, we don't know. But we do know that his lawyers were told. Merrick Garland has also come out and said that they had, in fact, attempted to retrieve the documents with, quote, less intrusive means, which had failed. We do know that they retrieved a whole bunch of documents. We don't know what those documents were, but I think it was February 2nd, or somewhere early February, when there was a big news thing about it. They retrieved all these documents that he had inappropriately taken. These were not included in that. So either he got these documents afterwards, which is extraordinarily unlikely, because how is he going to get these after he's left the White House, or he had
deliberately missheld.
Yes, and withheld them from the original. Yes, because the FBI came in or this is the second time they've had to take documents from that property. So the excuse that they hadn't tried, and that previous time it was a quote, less invasive. They did it with his foreknowledge. They did it with his permission, and they removed a bunch of things which he had illegally taken. So in this case, it looks like he withheld it the first time, and they have made, and we know they've made, because we've covered it, attempts to claim all of these things. I'm going to quickly finish the list, and then I want to get his Zandring in here. So we've got.
Do you
yes.
smell that? Do you smell that?
I think.
I smell. You know, I'm just guessing here, but a charge that says obstruction of justice.
Yes,
you know, withholding the document. So I don't know. It just smells like it from here. I'm not, you know, this is Washington State and that's Washington D.C. I don't know, but just conjecture on my part.
Honestly, I hadn't considered that, but that would be then the third charge. That would easily be grounds for that. The third one, which is the obstruction or interfering with. So we said earlier that there was basically 3 criminal charges, and the third one that we were trying to figure out why was deliberately interfering with an investigation and withholding it. So that would be if he lied to them and said when they first came to retrieve the documents they didn't have the rest. So it seems to me like they're going to have him dead to rights. I don't know how they do not have him dead to rights on several things. It is staggering what this is the inventory. This is what they pulled. So we know for a fact at this point that it was top secret SCI documents amongst what they pulled. Potential presidential record, binder of photos, several handwritten notes. The handwritten notes you'd think aren't a big deal, and probably aren't. It depends on what's on those notes, I suppose, but technically those records do belong to the Library of Congress, and that is where they should be, so that's probably why they took those. They took out a box labeled A1. All right, admittedly, that doesn't strike me, so I have no idea why that's important.
It just, that's the label. They had to document everything they removed, and that's what was on the label of the box. I think the key ones you need to look at are the one listed there at 10A, 11A, 13A.
And so let's look at that. That's miscellaneous secret documents. Now you were talking about the levels of classification, so that's the second highest classification, if I understand correctly. Then top secret documents,
Yep.
that's the highest classification. Another set of miscellaneous top secret documents, so that's two sets of top secret documents, one set of secret, one set of confidential, and the top secret SCI and its various classified TS SCI documents. Then on the next list, another on 15A, miscellaneous secret documents, a single confidential document, more miscellaneous secret documents, miscellaneous confidential documents, miscellaneous top secret documents, and another set of miscellaneous top secret documents. Our understanding is that is 11 sets of documents that are classified at some level. That's what we've got. So, Isandering, this is, I believe, your first listening to this. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that the FBI raid was kind of unprecedented against a outgoing president, and also that it appears what they have found and what happened is also unprecedented. So I am eagerly watching to find out exactly what goes on, what more information we can get. I mean, I've already seen the pretty damn shady shenanigans and outright dangerous things that he's been willing to do already. So it doesn't surprise me that he might want to try and make a buck off of some information that other people aren't privy to. It wouldn't surprise me.
All right, so I haven't checked the live chat. I'll be checking that in a minute. And if you have questions, it's best if you just tag in time. That makes it easiest for me to see them. If there's something really pressing the Titan catches, he will forward that to me. Or yeah, well, I think we'll do that.
Let me interject for a quick moment.
Please, sir.
I think it's the number 2 item on the list, which is stuff about President of France. My wife said she was reading something recently, and that is information pertaining to the French election of 2017.
All right. Oh, dear Lord. If he somehow interfered with that.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so for those of you who are just joining us, we're going to do a brief rundown on what we have so far. I will check the live chat. There's two other pieces of note. Anne Heche has been declared dead. She was in a car accident and suffered severe burns and damage, pulmonary damage, when she crashed into a home. She was declared dead earlier today, so we figure since we're live, we will let you know about that. And Salman Rushdie was about to give a speech when someone came up and stabbed him through the neck. He is, we don't know his status yet, but Salman Rushdie is a name that people have no...
He's in surgery.
He's in surgery now? All right, thank you. So
he did survive the attack. That much is known, and is in surgery.
All right, that is good to know. Thank you. So we'll keep an eye on that, and if that changes while we're live, we'll let you know. You can join us on the Discord. We keep all of our records for our paper trail for every show we've ever done is on the Discord. You can see all of the information, how we gather it, what's there, and can even contribute if you come join us on the Discord or just want to catch up or chat with Commander McMillan after hours. Come join us on the Discord. I'm sorry I couldn't stay later for that, but we'll have you back for that. So, for those of you just joining us, we have gotten a copy both of the warrant that was used to raid Mar-a-Lago and of a receipt of inventory of what was taken out, which includes 11 separate, not classified documents. Sorry, it's 11 I used the word earlier, and now I can't get it. 11 sets, thank you, of classified documents at all levels of classification, including top secret, and then the top secret SCI, which Commander McMillan has just described to us what that level of classification means. It's hard to imagine. Now, as Andrew had pointed out earlier, just as we were about to go live, that obviously there are probably unknown levels of classification that unless you're, at that, these are the levels of classification that are made public and that we know about. But in terms of all of the levels of classification that are public that we know about, this is the absolute highest levels. This is even beyond what I had known about with the TSI. It's pretty staggering. So, Commander, assuming...
There's something else that
yes,
I think
please.
is interesting here that is worth noting.
Please.
My understanding, and I could be wrong on this, but my understanding is they went in with this typed inventory already in their possession, and these were the only items that were removed. This was not a, we're going to go hunting through the house looking for goodies. This was... They knew exactly what they were going for and where it was, and they got it. It was signed for, and off they went.
That would be interesting if that's the case. We do know that they had a very good idea of what they were looking for, and we talked about that. I think it was last night or the night before. When they issued the warrant, we know that there was they had a very good idea of what they were looking for. So somebody inside who has probably seen these documents tipped the government off. A lot of speculation on In Time's Discord that it's his former chief of staff. You had suggested, and I think you probably are correct on this, that at a minimum it was also probably Secret Service who were just like, look, we're supposed to keep our mouths shut about certain things, but at this level of classification, they told somebody, and thank God they did. So, yeah, so let me look into that and let me see. And like I said, I'm going to go quickly run through the live chat. I know it's been going at a steady clip from what I can tell. So while I do that, Andring, do you have any thoughts or comments, or do you have a question? We've got Commander McMillan here, which thank you very much for coming on such short order. When I saw the TSI, I was like, okay, I'm calling Commander McMillan. I was like, this. So thank you, sir. I told you too. I was like, and I joked last night. I was like, okay, unless there's breaking news, we're not going to see you till so see you tomorrow. Here we are.
Well, somebody had said, be ready, because August is going to be a very interesting month.
Yep. So I'm going to see if there's any tags, see if we can catch up on anything. Also catch if there's any super chats or anything else. But barring that, Andring, did you have any questions or any comments or any thoughts? Yeah, Geo Strebber called it. That's true. Yes, he did.
Well, the SCI documents are the ones that really piqued my interest about what all this stuff that's going on, because it's like, how do you remove those without complicit cooperation from somebody else? It's like he couldn't have taken those on his own. Somebody helped him get those out of there, because that's information that they want to control so much that they have complete lists of anybody who views it, and you have to have special permission in order to view it. All classification is need-to-know basis. So, I had a secret clearance in the Navy due to some of the charts that we have and the fact that I go into CIC all the time. So I had a clearance, but that didn't mean that I could just peruse through their secret documents in CIC. It's like I was only allowed to look at those things that I had a need to know. So that goes without saying for all classification levels. But this is stuff that's so controlled that they only allow very specific people to view it, and they keep a complete list of anybody who has viewed it, how long they viewed it, etc. That's the kind of chain of information that they keep with this stuff.
Yeah, I was in some of the compartmented programs like that where not only was it, kept in a special facility, it had cover sheets on it, And before you could lift the cover sheet to read the document itself, you had to sign the cover sheet so they know that you had seen it. That's the level of control these things are under all the time. So, walking out with a box of this stuff is like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. That's the one. Because, like I said, when this was first going down, I'm thinking, okay, one, I don't trust the government as far as I can throw it. Two, we've seen mishandling of classified information in the past, and nothing has really ever come of it, at least from top level officials. So it's like this seems to be a bit extreme. Using the FBI to raid a former president's house for documents. Then they started, it's like, yeah, well, they were pretty sure that he had some of these, SCI documents, and they found SCI documents. And then I'm like, okay, well, kind of an unprecedented move for unprecedented conditions. It's like that's, it's not just that Trump took these things and was holding on to them. It's who helped him get this stuff out of those controlled rooms. So yeah,
we're seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Me. Yeah, it stopped me pretty quick because I was like, I've got questions here. I'm not sure that this is going to be a good look, and so yeah, I had to stop for a moment and go, okay, yeah, that's pretty damn serious, and now I really do want to know. It's like I have not been a fan of Trump. I think he's done some pretty damn dangerous things. I've never viewed him as like the evil genius type, like he's specifically planning out to be the next Pinochet. I mean, we did an entire thing about some of the Pinochet-esque actions that he took, and especially in Portland. But I've always kind of viewed him as, he thinks of himself as the CEO and thinks he should be able to do anything a CEO of a company could do, and is routinely frustrated that when somebody stopped him. So I've never thought of him as being a super evil genius, but engaging in a lot of things that are incredibly dangerous. So I now definitely want to know. It's like I've wanted him to go away for a while now, and he just won't. And it's like the more we learn about the things that he's been involved in, whether nefarious or not, are still incredibly dangerous and really need to be addressed, because like we can't have the upper levels of our government doing these kinds of things. Like, we need to stop them, and stop them now, and resoundingly, so that people in the future who may actually be nefarious won't attempt to do some of these things. It's like they're incredibly dangerous to the future of our republic. So yeah, now I'm very interested now in seeing what in the heck's going on.
All right, so we've got a couple of other interesting tidbits. Trump has come out and, for all intents and purposes, I assume this is Truth Social, I'm going to call it a tweet, and has, quote, tweeted, President Barack Hussein Obama kept 33 million pages of documents, much of them classified. How many of them pertained to nuclear? Word is lots. Obviously, this is the first I've heard of it. Yeah. So that's his first statement. Now, Kesh Patel, who has been designated by former President Trump to handle issues with the presidential records, is saying, quote, the GSA, that would be the General Services Administration, mistakenly placed some boxes and moved them to Mar-a-Lago. That's not on the president. That's the National Archives to sort out. So apparently, yes, they were accidentally taken out of these secret rooms and accidentally placed in a safe in
GSA
Mar-a-Lago.
doesn't have access to that shit. Come on.
Yeah, I was just about to say, okay, well, I might be able to buy that for something, classified as confidential or secret.
Maybe secret.
Maybe. I could definitely see secret, because some of the stuff that is classified and secret, most of the rest of the world wouldn't give a crap about. But it's like we have charts, and they're essentially submarine charts that show incredibly accurate, depth soundings. These are kind of charts that submarines use to navigate underwater. So those are classified as secret. And that's why I had a secret, because we actually use those charts in navigation. So, most of the rest of the world isn't going to give a crap about charts that have particularly accurate depth soundings on them. So I guess I could see something like that up to the secret level being mistaken or accidentally this or that. But you do not accidentally place SCI material to be removed. That's just not a thing that happens. I mean, I am pretty confident that our government's,
it's such a
incompetent at most of what it does.
disingenuous claim. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure that our
Space aliens stole my homework.
But
Well,
yeah, not to the level of SCI incompetence. There are some things they do really, really well, and a lot of times the security around its documentation is one thing that it takes seriously and usually does very well.
Well, and I've forgotten to mention this last night, but you had been talking about his Trump's insecurity. And it's like, what was it, earlier this week, I think, he was playing golf. He hits a shot and he gets on his cart and says, I'd like to see Biden do that. How long? He's public. He's calling out Biden for golf swings. Dear Lord. We also have one other interesting piece of news. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene now says that she's going to introduce articles of impeachment against Attorney General Merrick Garland for this raid. And I'll be honest. I don't expect it to go anywhere, obviously, but it's like this is why I say there is a lot going on today. So and now actually, sorry, that was my bad. I was in error. I said that she was about to introduce articles of impeachment, but that was 45 minutes ago. As of 2 minutes ago, she has filed articles of impeachment against, or at least she claims to have filed. I don't know. The filing process, you have to start with the judiciary, I think so, since she's not on the Judiciary Committee. I don't know. But at any rate, Marjorie Taylor Greene has just tweeted that she has filed articles of impeachment against Merrick Garland. Dear Lord.
It's a post-it note. It's a post-it note that says, "I want to impeach Merrick Garland," that she handed the security guard. That's filing a, well, come on. That woman is dumber than my dog's turds that are rotting out on the roadside,
One of the things I really don't
really feel.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I really don't like about you is this subtlety makes it so hard to understand what you really think about people.
Stop being so wishy-washy.
I know.
Let's get a definitive answer on your opinion of these people.
He just dodges every question.
I do. I cannot hold back when confronted with blatant stupidity.
Oh, yeah. Well,
here we are with our gallows humor again. We're looking at something that could potentially be incredibly destructive to the Republic.
Yeah.
And we're making fun of people for it.
Well, Mike, I was thinking about this, and this is where I would like to get into a little speculation and spitballing with you guys. And I'm only about halfway through the live chat, so I want to catch up with that. But a thought crossed my mind, which is, okay, if I'm Joe Biden right now, what do I do? First part is stay the fuck out of it if you possibly can.
Yeah.
Up until you have no choice but to get in. But I was thinking about Ford pardoning Nixon. And I was just like, okay, if you're Biden and if you're sitting here with this country as divided as it is now, somebody has to have advised you. And it's going to be some lunatic. It's going to be the Adlai Stevenson of the group, whoever that is, has come up to you and said, if you really want to unify the country, give him a pardon. And we'll, say he can never hold office again or whatever it is we're going to say. But that clears most of this stuff. It acknowledges that, the Dems aren't just out to get him, but he really screwed this up, and finds some way to do it where you can achieve all those goals while pardoning him. I don't think that's possible. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's possible. I think if you pardon him, the message it actually ends up sending is that all of this was fake in the first place. The Dems got caught, and now they're just trying to cover. Yep. Who the hell knows? So, but somebody's going to suggest it to him, and Biden is the kind of reasonableness that it's going to enter his head. It may go out again pretty quickly afterwards. I don't know, but so we are sitting here.
Oh, hell, I'd play it. I'd play it for a different angle.
Please.
I'd say, I will issue the pardon if these 3 Supreme Court justices and these 6 senators all resign.
Is that even legal?
It's a political deal. You're saying, if you do this, I'll do that. And
of course, those individuals also would have to agree to the political deal.
Oh, so I know.
It's not like you're.
Oh, I know. But what I'm saying is the key there is you put the GOP on record with saying, no, we're abandoning this rancid sack of horse shit because we know it isn't going to work. They gave us an out to save our, new messiah, and we're not going to take it.
So,
my thoughts on that.
Please.
My thoughts on that are, I would not, and I would encourage them not to do this. I would say, I could argue that the pardoning of Nixon for those crimes that he committed has encouraged higher level politicians to be less stringent in obeying the law because, well, nothing's really going to happen to them. And when you look at all of the malfeasance of high political office, you've looked at all of the things that have happened, and nothing ever seems to actually happen to them. I'm really sick and tired of hearing about Hillary's server and email. However, there should have been some sort of consequence for that, and there really wasn't. I guess you could argue she lost the election, but I think she lost that without those issues. So there's just a whole bunch of other stuff. No, I don't believe that we should be pardoning people for these things. They should face real consequences. And I think that all political members should be held to the kind of scrutiny that everybody seems to be holding Trump under. Both the media and internal bureaucracies seem to be putting a hell of a lot more scrutiny against absolutely everything Trump did. And I think that's the way that it should be for all politicians, especially those at the highest level. And I'm tired of, this malfeasance and kind of, corrupt or backdoor dealings that aren't really legal, and you get maybe a slap on the wrist for it. Like this is encouraging this kind of behavior, and we need to discourage it strongly so that we'll stop getting it. And we're not going to stop getting it until we actually start prosecuting people and they start paying real consequences. Sorry, right, Trump, you're going to just be the test case here for, we're going to say, no, you can't do these things anymore, and you're actually going to go to jail.
All right, so that is the flip side. So that was So I wanted to make the argument, and we now have it. The argument for why maybe you'd be thinking about pardoning him, and the argument for why that could be an absolutely terrible idea. Specifically, that you are basically saying anybody who does this can get away with it. And one of the reasons we are where we are now is people having said that in the past. Titan pointed something out, and I do want to mention this. I hadn't even thought about this, but he's absolutely right, and it's brilliant, which is if you did pardon him, he could no longer plead the fifth, and that would be in relation to any co-conspirators. I don't think it's even remotely worth it, but I'm not the one who's going to be making that decision, and Biden strikes me as the Gerald Ford type, but at any rate. So what we are looking at now is an unprecedented level of crimes that appear to that they already suspected.
That we know about.
That we know about. Thank you. That they already suspected. That's why they went in. They found a lot of stuff, but in particular, 11 sets of classified documents, 3 classified confidential, 3 classified secret, 4 classified top secret, and 1 set of documents classified top secret SCI, which we've been discussing what that means, but all of that, and I think, as Andrew, you made an excellent point, which is, despite the fact it's got a secret classification, we can see some of those documents maybe being, okay, but by the time that we've gotten to top secret and top secret SCI, it seems that if there is an excuse that would be valid for why these were in his house, it seems I can't even begin to think of it, and it sounds like the two of you are in that same predicament. So what What are we practically looking at here? Are we looking at Trump facing charges reasonably soon? Are we looking at he's going to be going to jail? Which, by the way, Commander, you had suggested what's going to happen if that happens. Not that that should be a deterrent, but what are we looking at here? What do you guys think should and or will happen? Let's start with McMillan.
I think charges may be preferred. I think there will be initially a negotiation phase between DOJ and his lawyers, and depending on the instructions they receive and whether or not the orange shit given accepts their advice, they may negotiate it down. I suspect that they will try to avoid indicting him. I think if they do go that route and there is a conviction, I seriously doubt he will ever see the inside of a jail. I think he'll, be given, what do they call it? You put the ankle bracelet on, and you're not allowed to a lot. Yeah, it'll be a house arrest in his gold toilet-plated residence. That's the worst that's likely to happen to the guy. But a conviction, if it happens, basically bars him from holding federal office ever again. Doesn't mean he can't influence other people as he's been doing, who his anointed ones are, but it will at least diffuse that potential time bomb.
All right. We do have here, it does look like she has filed an actual, at least one article of impeachment. She has filed them. In the article of impeachment, Marjorie Taylor Greene says, quote, Attorney General Garland's effort to unseal the search warrant for the home of former President Donald Trump constitutes an attempt to intimidate, harass, and potentially disqualify a political challenger to President Joseph R. Biden. So she's making the exact opposite argument that was made by Trump earlier, which was that they are demanding it be unsealed so everyone can see how innocent he is, and that his lawyers had not gotten a copy of it, which is how they know it was an ambush, despite the fact we now have his lawyer's signature on the warrant indicating that they knew and signed that they were in receipt of a copy of that warrant. So, having caught us up...
All she's doing is pandering to her base to make sure she gets reelected.
Yep, and it is probably going to work. Having said that, I would like to give Isandring the chance to offer that, and I kind of cut Isandring off earlier, so I want to make sure that he's got a few minutes to expand on his views here. So, Isandring, where do you think that, practically speaking, this is headed? That wild speculation on your part, I'm aware, but I am asking. All we've got is wild speculation. This is uncharted territory. And where do you think it should head?
I unfortunately think that it probably will head the same direction the commander believes that it will. Though I will point out that there are definitely people who are very interested in going after Trump. So maybe there will be some more action on that. We'll have to wait and see. As to what should happen, we should be saying in a very loud voice that these kinds of behaviors are not acceptable from our governmental leaders anymore. And we should be making a very strong statement and prosecuting to the absolute fullest that we are capable of. I say we, I mean, the information that the Justice Department actually has. I mean, obviously you have to be able to prove it. So if they can't prove it, then, even if he did do something, otherwise we're just going to get more of this. I mean, that's kind of how we've gotten to the point that we are now. Like if you don't have significant consequences to stop bad behavior, you will just simply get more bad behavior. So hopefully we'll be able to stop that. You did mention that you were worried about Biden choosing to pardon him because you thought maybe he's more like a Gerald Ford. And I'm like, well, I don't think Biden's actually making any decisions in this administration. So at least maybe the people who are making the decisions won't choose to go that route. I think that if they were, we're already so divided as far as, left and right, that I don't think that this is going to cause any worse of a division. And I don't think that you're going to rescue or repair any of these divisions by pardoning him. So I don't see the benefit to doing it. And I see a great downside of continuing to say, hey, well, you can go and be president and you can do all of these horrible things. And, the next administration will pardon you because in the interests of, we don't want to divide anymore. So, that's encouraging bad behavior, and we need to stop. We need to hold all of our political officers and representatives to a much higher standard than we are. And mostly it's because we're just not paying attention. We might yell and scream in our bathroom or with amongst our families about what's going on in the government, but we don't actually do anything meaningful about it. And as Benjamin Franklin said, we only have a republic if we can keep it. And right now, we're not doing much to keep it. So that needs to change.
I think that's a extraordinarily important observation. I want to add two other things I failed to mention earlier. About now a little more than 40 minutes ago, the House Democrats successfully passed. It had already passed in the Senate. House Democrats passed successfully without any Republican support the Inflation Reduction Act. That act includes in it really the only major piece of legislation, but certainly the largest single piece of legislation to address climate change. We will be discussing that with a number of people later tonight. We have a panel, Maudy, Greg, who you guys have seen before, and President's Sunday tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. We will be discussing it, but that act has now just passed. And that's a pretty significant thing. And in anticipation of it, we actually already had a show scheduled for tonight, 8:30. We will also be celebrating, I think this weekend, we're going to talk to a few other content creators and see who wants to come in and how we're going to do it. In time, we'll be celebrating its 2000th subscriber. We're actually not quite at 2,000 yet. We're at I think 1,990, but we will probably be at 2,000 soon, and we're going to be celebrating, and we'll have more to come on that as it comes on. I think now is probably not the time to talk about it, but just to let you guys know, we do have the FBI is now reporting as well, and this is to be expected. We had the shooting yesterday at the FBI building. The FBI says that there is already, since this has come out, an unprecedented number of threats against the Bureau and against individual agents. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. This has been a problem. Somebody had asked earlier why we were quoting Breitbart. Like, is that the best source you can get? No, we have much better sources. The reason we were talking about Breitbart is because Breitbart released an unredacted version. The court released a redacted version of the warrant. That's what we've been using, and of the seizures. The unredacted version contains the names of two FBI agents. The unredacted version is what Breitbart released. I don't know how they got it. I don't know if they filled the names in. I don't know if they said the names separately, but Breitbart appears to have released the names of two FBI agents that were redacted in the documents that were officially released by the court, which is the documents that we are using. So their lives that have now changed dramatically for a very long time in the future, I suspect. It's hard to know what else to say at this point. Things are moving extraordinarily quickly. Do you think? And again, it looks like now. Okay, no, that was Patel. The only other interesting thing, because we've covered it, and this is a minor thing, but one of the things that we do on occasion is try to pick out what are sort of secondary or tertiary stories and say, okay, there's something here that is tied maybe to something much bigger, but we don't know. For the second night now, Tucker Carlson has not aired his show. He's had a substitute. He has not gone on air. There is there's a single report that has been unconfirmed that says, and I think it was the Daily Beast that said that he is, they didn't say scared shitless. They said something else, equally graphic, but more potent about him being utterly terrified about what's contained on Alex Jones's cell phone. It looks like they were in significant contact. That material is not only in the hands of the attorney in the defamation case, Alex Jones defamation case, but now in the hands of the January 6th committee, which also means if the DOJ wants it, it's probably going to be in the hands of the DOJ. I don't know what it is, but we talked about it last night, and he has now missed another show. So that's just more indication that there is something on the horizon looming there. Nobody's talking about it, but he's missed 2 shows, and unconfirmed reports that he is barely functioning. He's so worried. I don't know what it could be about, but we've got that. So for those of you just joining us, a lot's going on. We have had both the warrant and the inventory of what was taken from Mar-a-Lago have been released. The inventory is staggering. It includes something about materials concerning the president of France. We don't know what that is. We do know that they were interested in it and they have taken it. So it must pertain to what we now have learned is 3 alleged violations of criminal code, including the Espionage Act and including concealing and or destroying documents. Commander McMillan suggested, I think, if I'm quoting you accurately, and it seems to me to make sense, that may be tied to the fact that they already removed a whole bunch of documents in February from Mar-a-Lago with Trump's consent. Presumably, and we covered this at the time, presumably they had removed everything. If he lied and held back documents, he's going to be obviously in serious trouble for that. It's very hard to imagine any set of circumstances where he could have these documents. 3 sets of documents were classified confidential, 3 sets were classified secret, 4 sets were classified top secret, and 1 set had top secret SCI, which we have discussed. We're not going to go over the discussion again. We did that early in the show, but we may briefly do a 1-minute rundown of what that is, but we had a full discussion of what that is and why that's amazing that was in his. You can't see those documents unless you're in a room prepared just for you to see them, a secure room, and none of that is in Mar-a-Lago. So we'll be discussing this further on the Discord. We will be continuing to follow this. We'll be also following the status of Salman Rushdie, who was stabbed in the neck, and that last report, thank you, Commander, was undergoing surgery. There's political implications and a whole history behind that. We won't get into it right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene has filed, where she's filed them, I don't know, presumably with the judiciary. But at any rate, she does appear to have filed impeachment charges against Attorney General Garland, ostensibly or essentially for abusing his office in order to harass Trump. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more kind of go over everything we have, see if anything else has come out. Again, we do have a show at 8:30 to cover the Inflation Reduction Act, but specifically the elements of it which address climate change. There is the largest climate change bill in U.S. history that was included in that package of legislation. We'll be discussing that tonight, 8:30. We have a panel on to discuss it. But in the meantime, I'm going to go over anything unless there's probably going to be trickles of new information throughout the night. We are constantly having it updated on our Discord. Come down and check that out. If there's anything that's really cray-cray, we'll be back up and covering it, but I think we've covered the vast majority of what's been going on today. So what I'd like to do is get sort of final thoughts on what we're looking at from each of you. And again, I think I'm going to start with Commander McMillan. Commander, what are your... First of all, thank you for joining us on such short notice.
No problem.
So, what are your thoughts as you see this here, and as we're looking at sort of the big picture of everything that we have learned today?
I think, as I mentioned, that we're seeing just the tip of the iceberg. I think these documents are ones that they knew about. They acted now because they figured out just how damning and damaging they could be, so they acted when they did. I think they're preparing to serve all sorts of other warrants in the next couple of weeks against other people. I think Carlson is right to be worried. I think a lot of people are going to find themselves on the receiving end of quiet knocks on the door. I think it's going to be a very interesting month. We'll just leave it at that for now.
Well, and Trump was also deposed in New York. He pled guilty. Wow. little Freudian. He pled the fifth 440 times in his deposition in New York. I think that was yesterday. All the days are blending together right now. But the fact that he was deposed there and they're taking more depositions, it also looks like, and this is another one that I don't think we... It looks like there's been an accusation from a credible source, I forget who, and that's also on the Discord, that he may have been looking at it's a wild or it's a serious accusation. So I shouldn't, so I'm going to be a little more precise. There was the suggestion by pundits in the news. So but they're reputable pundits, but they're pundits. They're not reporters. That since Kushner had been working so closely with the Saudis and other Middle Eastern countries, and in part related to a nuclear program there, I've since spaced the details, but that these documents might ultimately have been headed there. The Saudis have continued to invest in the Trump empire since he has gone out. The Trump administration looked the other way, most notably in the assassination of Khashoggi, which we know for a fact was ordered by the Saudi crown prince. There's a whole bunch more to that to unpack. I think right now I'm suggesting we keep that on the burner for things that people have been speculating about. Either way, it's a Gordian knot that's just starting to unravel, so we'll see where it goes. Zandring, what are your thoughts on what you've heard today, and just in general, what's your opinion on where we stand and how we got here?
May you live in interesting times, I think sums it up fairly well.
Yep. I think, well, didn't you, Commander, say yesterday, like, you'd be happy for the times to be a little less interesting at this point?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both. Oh, please. Yes.
I think it's past time that we start holding people accountable for, the bad deeds that have been done. People are talking about how, they think so-and-so is corrupt or so-and-so is corrupt, and, they're abusing their power. And it's like, well, congratulations. You've just reached the upper echelons of our federal government. That's everybody. And we've allowed it to get to this point. And I've always been somebody... there was an interesting thing that I heard about, and it got me thinking. It's like, I consider myself conservative in most things, socially very liberal. And one of the things that I have serious doubts about is big government. I think that it's horribly inefficient and that it's ripe with abuses and, power plays. And so I'm very, very skeptical of it and don't like it and want it to be smaller. And then, people on the left keep screaming about, all these corporations or, how they're screwing these mega corporations are screwing people. They're taking advantage of them. And I'm like, I think we should be able to come together on at least one thing, because there's something that we have in common between, the people on the left that are complaining about, large government or large corporations, doing nefarious things and taking advantage of people, and me going, hey, there's a hell of a lot of corruption, waste, fraud, abuse, etc., going on in the federal government that we can't even really track because of the sheer size. We don't even have the oversight ability to even see what's going on, let alone stop any of it, or at least most of it. It's like the commonality there is big. I think that we should be able to come together and say big things, giant, gargantuan things, whether it's government or corporations, are generally bad. And maybe we should stop allowing that. And nothing's going to change until enough people get together and say, hey, this is not good. It's not helping us, and it needs to change. So maybe we can actually work together on trying to reduce the size of these things.
And to be fair, that's entirely sort of the cornerstone of antitrust laws, which most liberals very strongly support. So I think that's a fair point, and I think you and I have been talking about discussing that at some point anyway, because I've very much appreciated your takes on that, and I'd like to have those discussions. So we'll do that. We'll also be discussing the fair tax and a few other things coming up next week. But until then, we will be back live for In Time at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. That is in roughly 90 minutes from now. I think is my math right on that? Probably not, but it's in about 90 minutes. Plus or minus 30. We will be back to discuss the passage today of specifically we will be discussing the bills pertaining to climate change, the most significant passage that we've had in the U.S., most of which would probably be in violation of the Constitution as the current Supreme Court sees it. So we'll probably bring that to the table along with what's actually included in that package, what it's expected to do, and why. So that will be tonight, 8:30 Eastern. In the meantime, thank you both for being available on such short notice, and look forward to going through the interesting times with you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.